What's up, everybody? It's Deadpool, FAFO. Today is the Monday interview. We have Tueful. I've known him for a while now, and we're going to go ahead and talk about some psychology stuff. Basically everything that people take the microdoses of this shit for, right, Tueful? What's up?
Yeah. Oh, pretty good, man. Been doing good. So just kind of wanted to give a little background on me, some credentials, I guess you would say. I'm a psychologist, but I am not your traditional chair psychologist. When I was going through college, I quickly realized I don't really like dealing with crazy people. They don't listen to you very well. Like, you give them a whole bunch of homework and they don't do it, and that's a special tool to deal with those people, and I'm not fit for that. But
I can understand that completely.
There are areas in psychology that people may not be aware of, and mine is I'm an IO psychologist. It's an industrial organizational psychologist, and it's a behavioral view to business consulting. So I will go into a place, and the same behavioral approaches that you would use on a person, we adapt those to a business, and you treat it as such. So you eliminate good behaviors, you eliminate bad behaviors and then reinforce the good behaviors. It's all pretty basic stuff there.
You're basically telling them what is the best way to run their business using a psychological point of view.
Correct. It's like a very elaborate carrot and stick program.
Yeah, well, that's the best way, no matter what you're doing. Everybody likes the carrot.
Correct. Now, the big thing about the carrot that I find is, especially in the business world, they just assume that everyone wants money, and they're like, this carrot works well. And that carrot doesn't really work well for everyone. Because you need to reach some threshold of money, because if you don't hit that threshold, no one really cares about your job. They're not making enough money, so they don't focus. But once you reach this like minimum threshold, then it kicks into quality of life now starts to rank more than actual money. And you can offset it with money. It's not it directly just kind of flattens off or anything. But right, for the most part,
or else rich people would stop making money and trying so hard. It's
correct.
Everybody has what they want in their life, and money's not always the only thing important.
Yeah, like I don't ever hear Robbie down the road talk about his legacy and which buildings he's going to leave his name on. But once you get into like billionaire status, everyone's got $1 billion in the billionaire club. What buildings do you own?
Right. I own a hunter's cabin.
Yes, indeed. But I'm still in the world of renting right now because it is not a buyer's market. We've been looking around. Interest rates are still insane on houses. I don't get it. It's like 8% on money right now.
Well, I don't know that much about economics and this whole fucking thing, but I do know that the banks are fucking bullshit. I know that much. So how can you be broke, not give me a loan, but you're still giving billions of dollars and millions of dollars for bonuses to the people that run your business? I mean, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that would just not be a carrot for me. My owners are making millions and they do nothing, and then my bonus is a fucking turkey for Thanksgiving. Fuck you.
Yes, indeed. Well, so that kind of pigeon toes into something I've been saying a lot, and it applies to almost every situation I look at. And do you remember those little mazes that you would have when you were a kid? You had to like get to the center.
Right.
You'd have to like draw a line. Well, if you start in the center of that maze and try to get out the maze, it's always so much easier. So if you just start running all these mazes backwards, like quit assuming the government program is what it says it is, just throw that out of the window, go watch what it does, and then reverse engineer it, and now you'll find out what their goal was. And most of the time, that's what the actual goal was. It's just sold as something else.
Totally. Yeah, it's like when they run a new law or something, an amendment or whatever the fuck they're doing. Why does it have to be 3,000 pages when the last 2,998 pages are from Big Pharma or fucking fucking energy companies. You know, it's fucking everything they do in the beginning is hiding what really they want to do. So yeah, fuck that. So that's basically what you go in there and you're basically telling them the best way to get the most work out of their employees, or just
well, it depends on what the scope is. So most of the time, I can't get into a company that way. We pigeonhole in through the safety department, because if you bring in a psychologist and you're doing a behavioral approach to safety items, you get an instant rebate on your insurance that year. So I'm paid for by showing up, and they're a little more accepting for that. It's like, well, we're not losing anything. We're getting a discount, so let them go. In that situation, and that was mainly with like I was inside a nuclear power plant helping the control room operators for a while. And those guys, you can definitely tell it was just for the insurance. They didn't want me saying anything. Just leave the guys alone, sit there.
Yeah. Just sign
but
in.
Now
we just need your time card.
Correct. We just need to prove you're on campus for this insurance rebate. Now, there's also your other guys who will approach you with a specific problem. And those are a little more interesting. They're a little more fun, but they tend to be a little more difficult because they have a problem. But if the solution doesn't match the solution that they wanted, they tend to push back on that. And that's kind of not how fixing thing works. Like if you brought me your car and I was like, the alternator was out, you were like, cool, can we change the battery anyway? No, the alternator's out.
Right.
So it just kind of depends on where and how they pull you in.
Right. Interesting. So now they're talking about, you're looking at this from the standpoint of us using the psychedelics and stuff. Like you're using how are you connecting those two? I mean, you're talking about it, but I wasn't really understanding as far as.
Okay, so that's just what I do as an IO psychologist. All right.
Right.
And I basically use psychology like a hammer. This is a tool, and how do I use this tool to get people to do those results? Now, when you take that approach and then you bring that over to the therapy side, and instead of looking at your traditional therapy model, what I would focus on is more of the behavioral aspects to this. Like what are you hoping to accomplish with this therapy? I would never want to replace a psychologist. I think one of the important things with this is you need an actual psychologist. There are very few people who seem to get the full benefit out of these on their own. It just doesn't work that way. I was under the assumption, because I've done my own dabbling into psychedelics, that everyone gets the message. And I think some people maybe get the message, but it gets lost in translation somewhere. It does seem that you. Go ahead.
I find that you could tell people the most important things, just the building blocks to get the most out of it. Like the most important being set and setting. But then everyone always just wants to go ahead and get that hit. They want to, I say hit only because that's basically what they're looking for. They just want to go fucking zooming. They want to see aliens or something while they're sitting in the middle of a fucking graveyard drinking and doing meth. And then they want to pop a couple's rooms and have a nice high. That's not how it works. If you want things to work, there are steps that you have to follow in order for them to work well and help you fix your life and things that are wrong with you.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, nobody cares about the the steps that it takes. They just want the end result. Basically, like you with the starting at the beginning, the middle of the maze. They just want to get there. They don't want no fucking hallways.
Yeah, but just because you started at the end of the maze, you still have to make all the steps backwards that it told you. Like just because you know the steps, if you still take the wrong turn, you're never going to get out the maze. You still have to actually go through the steps. And I think that's the part that people miss. And I was really hopeful for the way they're doing it in Colorado right now is that they're specifically writing in laws for facilitators. And that's where this really comes in, is it would be a facilitator to therapy, someone who's more focused on how to use the mushrooms as a tool for therapy, just like we would use the psychology. I've dabbled around with it.
It is just another, it is just another tool in your tool belt. I mean, it won't work for everybody, and if it's in your head that it's a drug and it's bad, it's not going to work for you because you have to be brought out of that mindset, or else it's never going to work for you. But you being a psychologist, you have a tool belt, and the more tools you have to go ahead people over the head with a hammer, that's the best thing to have. Tools.
Yep. Now, and another thing is I don't necessarily see a big benefit in microdosing yet. There's a lot of promise and there's a lot of buzz around it, but actual results, it's still a little anecdotal. It's not showing.
That's
you just don't have enough time yet.
It's a placebo effect.
Correct. Well, you need more time.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, a lot of people that they take them also, they're on antidepressants, which completely fucks up the whole point. I mean, I don't know exactly how well it works. I mean, you might know more than me on this subject, but if you're on antidepressants, it's hard to even get a dose on psilocybin. So
correct. From what I understand, it makes the cost of admission to the ride higher. Because my girlfriend, she was on some meds, and she'd have to take a lot more than a normal person, but she was able to get there. But I think the benefits
1 ounce later.
I really think the true benefits in the therapy, though, are your macro doses. The trips that if you had a wonderful, pleasant time. Correct. You're not supposed to enjoy what you're about to do. It's going to show you some things that you didn't want to see about yourself, and you're going to have to take this information that you didn't want, package it up, and then come up with some plan to do something different tomorrow. Like the trip is the insight, but then the actual work starts tomorrow. That's going to be difficult.
You're learning more about yourself that you didn't realize because it wasn't on the surface. And that's why normally when they facilitate these things, like you're saying, like if it ever became decriminalized, I would love to have those things, those rooms you have set up, and you're there taking care of that person, getting them in the right state of mind, throwing some headphones on them, throwing the blinds on them, fucking who the fuck cares, whatever. But then at the end, it's important. You take notes. You write what did you see? How do you feel? What do you think you need to do? Write that stuff down, because now when tomorrow, you're going to be like, oh, maybe that's not what it was. But now you look at that fucking list and it says, yeah, stop petting my dog the wrong way. That's that's the wrong thing. Your body was telling you, don't pet my dog against the grain. But it's just.
Yeah. Now, I have done some facilitating with some friends and associates. It's not, you can't really do it above board. The psychologist isn't allowed in the room right now, so you can't do it properly. But it's one of the big factors in doing that is priming and making sure that you're in the right mind state. Just like you said, set and setting is important. You want to use set and setting as a kind of a kicker. So if you think that you have an idea of what you want to work on. Like me, I yell a lot. I have a temper. When I go in, that's what I'm focused on. Like, what are some things that I need to do better to control my temper? But before you go in, you have that talk. You get your head in that mind space of already processing that information. So when you do go under and you start getting all these random thoughts, it's there to bounce around already. It was in today's working memory. It's in our RAM before we dump it.
Right. No, wait. And you said you're not allowed in the room right now.
Technically, a psychologist can. Well, no, I am not a psychologist at this point. This isn't a practicing. Like, I don't have a medical license because I don't need one to do it with a normal person. If you just sit down with a normal person and you're talking about work performance, that's not technically psychology. Even though some people try to argue that it's kind of a loophole and they don't like that. But technically, that's not a psychologist. What you can't do right now
instead of a guidance counselor, you're like an occupational counselor. So it's almost, you're like, hey, let me tell you how you can fix your shit. Uh-oh. Phone went black. There he is.
But you cannot do it here legally.
Right.
So that kind of makes the insurance company not so happy. Yep, insurance.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it just restarted, right?
It did. Yeah, I think your phone went black because your whole baseline just zoned out, and then you came back talking about insurance.
I might have lost some connection there on that one.
Right.
For some reason, I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why. They've told me, but when everyone gets home in my area, the internet just goes to dog shit. Like you didn't plan on people using the internet. I don't understand. Everyone's in my house. There's literally like 12 devices connected to the internet right now.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, shit. Now everyone's got their phone. Everyone's got their iPad, an Apple TV, just a TV. Fuck. Now you got the refrigerator, your toaster, and your fucking lights. That's it. I'd be afraid to see how many fucking devices are at my house.
Yep. So, another thing that kind of comes up that I may have a little different take on is some of these markers that people don't like, oh, I'm depressed or oh, I'm anxious. That isn't necessarily a bad thing all the time. It could be.
Right.
But a lot of times you need to break into that and go, well, I'm here because I'm depressed. Well, all right, let's look at your situation first.
Why are you depressed? Like, don't tell me you're stressed out when you're spending all day in a trap house. Okay, and it's pretty simple. I already know the answer, But yeah, you got to find out what's causing the stress and anxiety, and you're not going to get that with microdosing. You're going to get that with the macros. Yeah.
And that's one of the things you can go. If we get to that question and you really don't understand, it looks like everything is fine in your life, all of your needs are being met, your basic needs, well, then maybe we'll be going in and looking for what is this cause. Maybe you're doing what you thought you wanted out of life isn't what you actually want in life. I don't know. It could be a bunch of things, but that intent is really important going into it, almost as much as set and setting. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. Yeah, but even still, even set and setting is the most important thing, only because, I mean, without that, there's no stepping point after that starts. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a bad headspace and you take a macro, all right, and there's no getting better after that. There's no controlling what you're doing. But if you're in a neutral space or a happy place, like be fucking go like a fucking Happy Gilmore, go to your happy place. Then you start fucking playing with ponies and shit. Fucking midgets driving fucking cars. But yeah, but you're never gonna find out what is getting to you, what's upsetting you, why you're getting problems without set and setting. So, I mean, it's basically, like I said, it's a step program. The person's got to be there. You got to make sure they're calm, relaxed, comfortable with what's about to happen. That's why what I'm saying is when I said you're not allowed in the room or a psychologist isn't allowed in the room, because I was always under the impression that they sat with you for that hour or two. And just so that you know that you weren't alone and that you were safe. Because most people that are going to do these are not like us. They don't have experience up the wazoo. You know what I'm saying? These are people that have been, this is going to work for me. It's going to help me get to my deepest, darkest problems so that I can move on and not have to look back anymore. So they're not, and they're just taking psychedelics because this is their next step after fucking whatever 35 million fucking prescriptions they've had over the course of their life, because these are so bad for us. Just like pot.
Yep. Now that was a big one as far as I thought, and that I really got depressed by some of the news that I got back from Maps this summer. I thought we really had a chance to hit the scheduling laws finally and make this stuff federally legal, because what we needed to change the scheduling laws was proof that it does have medical benefit. Not people saying things, even though it's true. You had to have actual clinical trials that show that it's went through an ethics board, that it's going to be okay. And without that, it was never going to get the scheduling laws were never going to change.
Right.
But with psychedelics, we finally start getting actual data that supports the effectiveness of these. And it was hitting the correct people. It was hitting our returning vets. It was hitting our law enforcement, people that would actually have enough power to lobby for these things to be changed. And the big takeaway
that they are those are the most important. Those are the most important people, the ones that are actually being helped. But at the same time, the only people that are going to be responsible when it comes down to the lobbyists are going to be the farm people that are going to be losing the millions and billions of dollars in big pharma, who's lining the fucking senators' pockets every fucking day.
Oh yeah, there's definitely other people fighting against it. Just if we were to select a team of people, this is kind of like the best people we could get fighting for us. Especially that they're not traditionally for psychedelics. That's a big win for us when we're getting these type of people fighting for us.
I wonder if that has anything to do with it, how everything is being pushed to I'm prior military. I don't know if you're prior military, but I mean, they don't make us it's not like before where, thank you for your time served. You did a great job. Now it's like, oh, you did that. What a waste of time. You're a baby killer, whatever, like that. They're making it almost sound like the people that like us that put our time in to do the country. Now the country's not even the same as when we went in. And it's basically just run by corporations. And it's horrible to the point where, like, they don't have the say that they should have. Military members with the PTSD, which I can say this does work tremendously well for that. Tremendously well. I know that for facts, but they don't think they're not taken as serious as they should be. But if you were to get a police officer,
I think they actually are taking it serious, because it did start making big waves and it did start making big change. But the win from Maps that everyone was pushing, the big win, is that they have synthesized the MDMA molecule, which means that they don't have to change scheduling laws in order for this to be prescribed now. It just goes into regular big pharma, and now big pharma can have. There you go. Now you see where I'm talking. It really took. Yeah, it took what we did have, all the positive momentum we did have, it took it out of it, because at the same time, they're not going to go in and change the scheduling laws for just psilocybin. They would have really looked at these scheduling laws and reworked them properly, or close, or better. Let's say that. And I thought we had a chance of that happening soon. But now with these synthetic molecules and it going into big pharma, I don't really have a good outlook on federal schedule laws changing anytime soon now.
That is horrible. I mean, and that's probably why it got such resistance, even though the cannabis was done, and that took forever. But they laid the groundwork. So what we were doing now should have been so much faster. And now it makes sense, as they must have been really close to that for a long time. And that's why they were just, teasing us. Bastards.
Yep. But that's what happens as soon as you show actual results. Then, and it's not just people talking. Like, we've all heard these amazing stories about mushrooms, and I believe 90% of them, let's say. But none of those stories are going to be enough to get actual change done. And we really started to see that, and it didn't go where I wanted it to go.
No. Yeah, you need like you were saying, you need the scientific results. You need double-blind tests. You need everything taken care of, and you need it all written up. And then, but now, You mean that takes years, because you need to go ahead and then you get to see any long-term results. I don't know why with what we want to do was going to take us years, but Big Pharma comes up with a new fucking psychedelic, and they can get that in market in seconds. But then they're going to have a fucking list at the end of your commercial that you're going to have chronic fucking espialidocious or whatever the fucking chronic diarrhea, maybe death. I'm not sure. Depends. Were you born on a Tuesday? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. Big Pharma, they is just like politicians. They should all just be shot. All the people in charge, and then start over.
Yeah. Well, I think all of those people are starting from good intentions. I will at least give them that. Like at the end of it, now where we're at, it's all bastardized, and almost anything that exists forever just evolves to a state of bloat, and then it doesn't work anymore. Like if you look at some of your original great minds that are some of the strongest names in our countries, those were pretty great guys as far as a thinker and just how they were able to get things done. Their grandkids, who never had to do anything because they just grew up with millions of dollars, were probably pieces of shit because they didn't get seasoned.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But the same thing happens with the business as well. The longer that business is there, you lose that original drive of the person that started it, and that's what the business actually is.
I don't think that's the only thing. I think that the longer they're open for business, if they are successful, they start to learn how the system works, and then they know how to work with politicians and governments and state laws as far as selling things or whatever. I mean, so I think the government basically just contaminates the fucking well every time someone digs a new one. It doesn't last very long.
Well, I would venture to say that the thing that corrupts companies the most is just being publicly traded. Because I can think of a lot of family-owned companies that aren't completely money-focused, and that's all they're worried about.
Because you have to keep the stockholders happy. Now it's no longer just about the company; it's about the stockholders. That's a great point of view. I like that.
Yeah. Because there are some people that really do a great job with their companies, man. There's been some guys that I've worked with on the construction side of my life that it's just awesome to see guys that take pride in their work.
Right? Yeah. How often do you see that anymore? Never.
At the high level, I do see it a lot. It's the newer generation. I don't see much pride in the newer generation. It's almost like they're worried about the social aspects, but no one's like, man, I made a really great pie. It's just, who cares? It's a pie. You go buy one over there.
I poured a great foundation for this beautiful house, but I don't want anyone to know that I pour concrete for a living. I need to get the fuck out of here ASAP.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Anyway, let's do. Hold on. We normally start by asking simple things like you're growing. Like how long have you been growing?
Growing, I've been 2 years now, right at 2 years. Minus a few months, I'm on a hiatus right now. With it being as illegal as it is here, I figured it out. Now I just need to relocate. There tends to be this funny thing where I didn't get addicted to the psychedelics, but when I started growing, I realized a couple months later that I'm addicted to growing mushrooms. Like I had 2 rooms of my house are now filled with tubs. I've turned my garage into a lab, all just to grow them. I'm not even taking them. These things have completely taken over mine.
It is my Zen space. I started my original server where I found all my guys like Feral and Trim and Geeky. I brought them all in and but that was so long ago. And now it just gets crazy. But we all started with small grows, and then all of a sudden, now we all have fucking labs and shit. But my thing is, I don't give a fuck what I do all day long. If I come home and I sit in front of those flow hoods and work, I myself feel happier after I'm done. That flow hood just blows all the shit out of my life. It's fucking nice.
But I missed the perpetual sway of the anchor weight on top of the pressure cooker. It was a solid sound inside of my house because I run like 2 to 3 cycles in my pressure cooker a day, be it grains or sub, whatever I was pressure cooking. But it would just be all day I'd hear that, man. It took a while to get used to not having that in here.
Right? It's like leaving New York City to go live in the country and you can't fucking sleep without the horns from the cars. Nice.
I'll give you the inverse. It's like going from the country to the city, and you're like, where the fuck are my crickets?
Right? There you go. About the fucking same. Tomato.
Yep.
But let's see. Favorite strains.
My favorite strain to look at, I really like the blobbier Enigma strains to watch. Like it almost looks like coral. It seems a little more living to me for some reason.
It does. And then it's a longer project. You get to watch that thing for fucking months.
Yeah, the last one I did, it was in a bag and it fruited for almost 2 months. I was like, is this thing ever going to be ready? And it was my first time with Enigma 2, and they're like, don't touch it till it starts bluing. And I thought it was broken. It just wouldn't blue. It just kept growing and growing.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
That was my favorite one to grow, but I really fell in love with, like, as far as what produced the most, a lot of the hillbillies and the penis envy strains, the apes. I grew a lot of apes, man. Those used to produce pretty good.
That's the cross that I'm working on right now. It's almost ready. It's ape and Ecuador.
Well, let me clarify. That was apes 412. I don't remember exactly who came up with that one. It wasn't the normal apes that took forever and made the little bowling pins. These threw like big dicks.
Right. No. All the apes are different. I mean, 412. That was just off of a 412 fruit. Maybe unless you're getting isolations, but as long as no one's sending you a swab with 412 on it, you're good.
Yeah, that took a while in the beginning as well as a introductory person. I think out of my first grow, I maybe had, how many strains did I have? 7 different genetics, and 3 of them were not what was sold. It's a big, you're not really getting what you're buying from a lot of these places.
Oh, no, hell no. Or even when they go in the head, dude, I mean, the way the marketing has gone with these, I mean, the people selling the stuff online and everything, not saying they don't have good products. I'm not saying that at all. But they're either delusional or just straight out lying most of the times. Like, whenever you see, like, an ape R, or even R at the end for revert, okay, an ape revert is just a penis fucking envy. All right? You don't fucking go all the way around the fucking circle, and then because you didn't take care of your shit and it fucking resets back to what it was, it doesn't make it a new strain. It's back to the old strain. You lost your isolation. You know, you don't add that R at the end and add another $20 on a port to spore swabs. I mean, it's like, what the fuck? I don't know. I don't sell like that, so I don't fucking know. And don't get me wrong. I mean, how hard would it be for me to fucking sell swabs? It wouldn't. Not at all. I could do that all day long. But I don't know. I couldn't deal with it because people, yeah. I mean, you get these swabs that are fucking, you know, you get New Zealand's, or you get some rusty white, and it's a fucking black swab. You know they're fucking rust-colored swab, fucking spores. How am I getting a black fucking swab? It's like, come on. I've had shit from fucking, like, that was pencil graphite on a fucking swab. I've had spore prints that someone took a ruler and a Sharpie and just went around circles all the way around. So it was like perfectly circle with perfect lines, and then you wipe your finger across it and nothing happens because it's a fucking Sharpie. It's dude. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you all the fucking stupid shit that I've seen while I've been doing this. I mean, that scamming shit's pretty much gone now, because whenever anybody does anything stupid, because of today's fucking snowflake-ish whatever ways. First thing people are going to do is they're going to go online and be like, dude, fuck this guy. He's a douchebag, which is fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. Call people out. But, you can't do that anymore because, you get called out right away. It's not like Reddit where you post a thing that now everything's direct message. Now everyone's online. So you have to be liable for your shit.
Yep. Now, when I got into it, I actually had to find reputable people in the community because even some of your more legitimate sites, let's not mention any names, the stuff that they put in the syringes were not what they said either.
Oh, dude, I remember this one guy. I don't know if you remember Street or what. I'm not going to mention the name, what his whole name is. He's sending out shit that was bad. Everything out of this guy's lab was contaminated. This guy spent so much money on fucking... You would call and be like, oh, dude, everything you just sent me was contaminated. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd have a whole new box in a week. All fucking contaminated again. It comes to find out. Now, what he was doing was his lab was not sterile. He was buying all his shit from Farrell, and then he was going ahead, not even buying it from Farrell. Farrell was helping him out. Farrell gave him this shit to help him out in his lab. But what he did was he tried adding those syringes, the little vials, into huge quart jars, and he was expanding that culture, selling it right away, but not being safe. So basically, the stuff that was given to him as a favor, he's making tons of money on, but he couldn't have made any money because he had to ship things out 5 or 6 times before the people finally stopped. Literally, I bought like 3 gourmet mushrooms things off him for like $30. That's gourmet. I didn't have anybody did that shit, whatever. But now I do. But it's the shipping alone was $17 every time he sent me something. So he literally spent over $100 sending me the same thing over and over instead of just giving me my money back. It's like,
look, man, I have run into some things that I've seen done at businesses where it's like, are you even thinking? All right, here's an example. So this is one of my favorite ones. I went into a credit card processing firm. All they did was process credit card applications. That was their entire job. You apply for a visa, they run your credit, and if you pass, they get a percentage. So they kept having a backlog every 6 months or so. They'd have to hire temp workers to come and catch up. And we did an initial survey, and a majority of the people working there were middle-aged women whose primary reason for employment was insurance. So what we did was go, okay, whatever batch came in last night, as soon as that batch is done, you get to go home for the day full pay. We're going to pay you day rate, and just you get to leave as soon as it's done.
So you're getting
within a few. Correct. I'm not changing how much, like it's still the same exact payroll, but just spread a little differently. It just looks differently if you try to do it by the hour.
Right.
Well, within a couple weeks, that place was a ghost town by lunch. No one was there. Problem solved. Problem solved, right? So the owner calls us in. The owner calls us in, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to see the bonus that this guy gives us. Man, he might have even gotten a trophy made for us. I'm just so pumped up. And we sat down, and he immediately starts reaming us out about how we're fucking him. And now he's just going to fire half of the people and just expect them to get it done. And it's the explanation is that's not going to get it done. They're going to take forever to do it. The whole motivation that got it done was the fact that they got to leave when it was done. If you take away the reinforcer, you're not going to get it done. They're working hard like a real person should work because you're giving them the incentive to do so. But they know that if they can come in and fucking just bullshit around for 8 fucking hours, they can get away with that. Or they can come in, bust their ass for 4 hours and go home. I mean, that's, and plus, companies, they don't think. And then you're going to, I'm going to fire everybody, start over.
and then I'm going to pay unemployment for everybody and half salary for all these new people. Yeah. No.
Well, interesting enough, what happens under those circumstances is you have top performers, and your top performers are flying through all this work. But some of them realize that we've also got some stragglers in the back, and if they go and help those stragglers, if you already have rapport with someone, you can give them tips and give them advice on how to do things better, and they'll listen. But most of the time, there's no benefit for Susie to go train Jenny to do her job better because it just doesn't matter. But now if Jenny does her job better, Susie gets to go home. So now Susie is turned into a trainer and a good employee because she wants to go home. You lose that behavior. There's other behaviors behind that just change the motivation.
It brings us full circle back to your fucking carrot.
Correct. You got to have the correct carrot, man. That's the most important part of my job when I get there is getting a good rapport with the employees. They got to feel like I'm on their team and I'm not just some mole for the boss that's trying to collect information. And usually the way you do that is I have to go get some big quality of life increase for them quickly. Like something as stupid as they didn't have enough electric cords at one spot, and that was causing them to take longer to do jobs because they had to wait on someone to finish the electric cords. And it was like, bro, why don't we have an electric cord? And they said it has to go do whatsoever. But you just go find the right guy and you're like, hey, there is not enough extension cords for people to do their work. I can't expect them to perform. And then they finally go get the extension cords. And now everyone's happy they can do their work. You get something done like that, and then you can kind of get them talking and you find out where the shit really is broken.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it's not broken in result. It's usually broken in process. They've got some process in the way that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Or they're just too lazy and don't give a fuck. It could be either.
Correct. That's why you got to change the reinforcers. It's almost like my approach to parenting with your kids. You can't, if you think you can stop your kid from doing anything, that's hilarious. You can only hopefully influence their desire to do it. But if a kid wants to do it, it's going to happen.
Right.
And same thing with your employees. If your employees want to do something, they will figure out how to make it happen. Like, and this is a good example of it. We tend to think that people in prisons aren't very smart. Those are probably some of our less intelligent people in society. But then if you go and look inside the prison economy and see the shit that they FAFO'd, you're like, this guy must be a fucking engineer. I wouldn't have figured that out.
you're like going in there. They're like, I'm lighting this fucking illegal cigarette in this illegal paper with this illegal tobacco with this battery that I've torn the siding off and I've taken the headphones. I've stripped the wire down for the headphones. I'm using this high gauge wire. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to conduct electricity through this copper wire. Watch as it heats up. And now watch as I light the cigarette in prison with all these wires. Like, that is fucking brilliant. You know, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, no. They're like MacGyvers. People, you know, I don't know.
It's the motivation, man. They wanted some wine. We got a toilet and some old purple drink. Why don't we just ferment the purple drink in the toilet? Now you got prison wine.
Yeah, we got our fruit punch. Give me some bread. Someone's got to get us a glove, poke some holes in that bitch, and we're in.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I might have spent some time in there. I don't know. I've watched a lot of movie once, but fuck. Oh, there he goes.
Yep.
And you're back. All right. But fuck. All right, let's see. How about this? I'm gonna ask you a couple questions here. How about totes, bags, shoe boxes?
I think it's preference. It depends on what you're doing. I was partial to totes. I liked my 32 quart tubs. they tend to work well in my closet. I found the bigger tubs didn't really give me much more space, and I could just stack them up.
Right.
And I got to. They're easier to look at. They're prettier to look at.
Nothing beats a nice full canopy when you're looking at your totes. Nothing in the world is better than that.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I like them so much that, and also jars for similar reason. I just like to watch my mycelium grow. It's just prettier to look at my jars. But I had set up shelving in my bedroom just so I could watch my jars every night. They were like my kids.
Instead of counting sheep, you're counting jars. You're looking at it. Yes, there's 1, 2, yes, 3, and I'm out. Yeah, I'm sitting here talking to you, looking at about 50 colonized jars right now.
When I closed my lab down, I had right at 80 colonized jars.
Nice.
And wasn't even selling the things. They're just growing them. I was collecting them like Pokemon.
Hell yeah, dude. Got to have them all. But I thought I normally would have more than this, but you probably heard that I had my fridge accident and whatever else. So I'm dealing with a couple. But then one of my fans from FAFO, I don't want to do his name, Mushroomski. He sent me a box to help me get my jeans back. He sent me like 18 strains, like 3 plates, and a whole bunch of fucking swabs. So I've never met the guy. He was a fan of the show, and he sent me fucking some genetics. So big shout out. Thank you very much. But yeah, dude, I was like, I would normally have tons of jars, but I'm just sitting here at I got 1, 2, 3. I got about 8 strains going, multiples of each, and I got about 40 bags in the colonizer, and half of those are going in the tent for fruiting tonight.
And I also like the totes for ease. I really did neglect tech on my totes. It took me a while to dial in my hole patterns. I had some with filters, some with the 1/4-inch holes. And I tend to like the 1/4-inch holes a little bit better than the filters, just because you don't have to buy filters.
Right.
But it was a lot easier. I ran bags as well, but the sides would fog up a lot. They'd condensate, and it was a pain to get them in and out. Like sometimes if you got a big canopy, you almost have to cut the bag or you're going to tear your canopy, so you can't get a good picture. Right. Aesthetically, I don't think the bags were there. But I think if you were producing bulk and you just wanted weight, I think bags probably would be an easy way to go.
It's super simple, super cheap. I mean, it's fuck. I mean, what is it, $15 for 50 bags? But
it was. This entire hobby is incredibly cheap, and I know that may sound. I hope I don't offend anybody with that, but it really doesn't. To set my entire lab up was like $3,500. There isn't anything that I really could have got into that required equipment and things like this. That's all that would have cost me. I mean, the last time my daughter and I played Magic the Gathering for a year, that was almost $10,000 in cards that we played. It was a pretty.
That shit just came out when I was in the military. We played that in boot camp. In A school. I forgot about Magic. That shit's awesome. And those cards are so fucking expensive now. It is fucking ridiculous.
Dude, Post Malone just bought a Magic card for $2 million.
Yeah, well.
That's crazy prices.
Well, if you can get that much money for bouncing a ball around the fucking court, you can spend it on whatever the fuck you want. Oh shit.
Yep. But even beyond that, like if I was so lazy that I did not want to clean my tubs ever, you could still. It was what, $12 maybe is what I was in for a tub all in, and then I could have just tossed it. Like that's still super cheap.
Even now, I got these ones that I just found because I'm getting ready to do some totes now. I haven't done totes in about 3 years because I went to the fucking, but I miss my canopies. I really do. But I found these gasketed fucking totes with clasps on each side for $10. $10. And how big is this fucking tote? It's full of fucking shit. It is a 54 quart fucking tote with a gasket, dude. This thing is fucking, it's phenomenal. I can't wait to see the fucking fruities just popping all over this bitch.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know how many people realize this, but Black Friday is the time to go look for totes, man. You go online and you hit some of these like Walmarts. I ended up getting 4-packs for like almost 30. God, I can't remember. It was $30-something for 432s. It was like $7 a tote. It's pretty cheap, man. That house stuff goes on sale for grandma. Capitalize on it.
We're almost there. Oh wait, no, we're not. Yeah, we are. It's almost time.
It's getting close.
But you're saying $3,500. I mean, for me, that's crazy. That means you jumped in bad. Because when I started 20 years ago, I had a pressure cooker and some jars and a $15 syringe from Hawkeye. Everything else was done in front of the oven or in a fucking still air box, which was one of my totes turned down.
Well, let's say there were 2 levels there. That's kind of the whole thing. My intro, which this is all you really need to do it successfully, and you'll have a high success rate, I think. I had a broke boy fan and a pressure cooker, and that was it. I was in for like $150 to get started.
You can make a fan fucking nice and simple, and if you don't live in a fucking sewer house, that fan's gonna work perfect for you. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm saying what you said was expensive, but my lab now has a lot of shit in it. I mean, I'm sitting next to
Mine
two
too.
Mac 10s. I got 2 Mac 10s I'm looking at right now, sitting next to each other, side by side.
Yeah, by the time you get shelving blew my mind. That's where I did not expect to spend a ton of money was on shelving.
$60 a shelf. 60. I remember back when I started, you could get those nice wooden shelves with the doors on the bottom for the whole bottom rack for $28. And now I'm paying $60 for 4 fucking shelves. Whatever.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that was another thing.
Forever.
Yeah, I got those on Black Friday too. I hit the Lowe's Black Friday sale. Got me some nice thick 4-inch Craftsman shelves.
Nice. I got the black ones myself, but I don't have the square things. I got the round legs. But these things last.
Gotcha.
Of course, now that I said that, it's gonna break on me when I move it. Fuck it. What are you gonna do? And everybody, go to your stores. If they leave their milk cartons outside, their milk crates, they're open game. Take them. You can make all kinds of milk crate with milk crates. I have a milk crate for everything. I got a milk crate for fucking doing plates, for agar. I mean, to make shit. Like I store them, so I know I got my milk crates labeled. I got one full of honey, got one full of corn, whatever. But so easy to store. You don't need to see it if you know where it is. That's my next. I'm gonna make a shelving unit so the fucking things just slide in and out nice and easy.
Yeah, I saw your little lab setup that you sent me. It was nice.
Oh yeah,
nice cozy one.
Yeah, I have everything now that has been all over the place in different labs for years. Everything is here now. Everything. Except for Sleepy's flow hood, which is still out in that one garage. But I have one more Mac 10 around here somewhere. But so I've been waiting for someone to pick that thing up for years. But now I've got a computer in here, got a radio, television, shit. I'm about to just fucking live in this fucking place. I'm gonna set up a little cot, maybe a hammock.
Yeah, little man cave.
Exactly. A Myco man cave. Boom.
As soon as I move, I can't wait. I'm gonna get me a barn out there, and that one will stay locked.
Where do you live abouts?
Southern Louisiana.
So all right. So it gets hot as fuck down there.
Oh, it has been, man. It has been.
Yeah. It's hard to keep things cool here because we have our nights are colder than the days, but you guys just get hot and stay hot for fucking months.
So when I leave in the morning, I leave at 3:30, and the temperature on my car is in the high 80s as I'm leaving.
Fuck that. Fuck it.
Yeah. Hey, you get used to it. On the bright side, though, when I was done with my cakes, I could literally just throw them out the back door and they would keep producing.
All right. Nice.
Yeah, we had just a bunch of them out in the yard going around the back of the house for a while there. And I'd just go out. I got more excited for the crappy little 3 or 4 mushrooms that grew outside than my entire canopies inside sometimes.
Right. Yeah. The freebies that you weren't expecting. Have you ever noticed that ones that you get outside, how fucking hard they are? And how fucking
They are so dense. They are so dense.
It's like, you're thinking you're about to lose 90% water weight and you lose like 60. And you're like, holy shit, I'm growing everything outside from now on. And after you fight through the 7 fucking slugs that found their way to your fucking mushroom, it takes them 3 hours to get across 3 inches on my wall. But there's a fucking mushroom outside of my compost pile. Every fucking slug within a fucking mile of my house will be on that fucking mushroom within an hour. I don't know how the fuck that happened.
Yes, indeed. Now, I can tell you this. I used to run into some wild strains every now and then, but now that I've gotten into mycology, I haven't seen a single one to rob a spore from.
Really? Somebody just sent me some wild ATL7s. They sent me a fucking MSS they had. It's like to Joe. I mean, Mushroomski. He sent me he sent me all the truffles, but one of them was wild, the ATL7, the Galladini. I can't wait
nice.
on that one. Yeah, it's like a wild one. I've never actually had the honor to work with a wild truffle before. It'll be nice to fucking, assert my dominance over it.
Yeah, we'll see. Some of them that. All right, question for you. What was your most elusive culture? That one that was just stubborn, that would never grow for you?
Jedi mindfuck. It's simple.
Jedi mind.
I have never had one successful Jedi mindfuck. Never. Not once. I don't know if it's the genetics that I got in. They were like, oh, that was great. I'm like, okay, well, it's not even fruiting. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know if like sometimes, you see those awesome fucking plates on their things. They want to do whatever they do to get those great plates, but they've never grown them out. They've done the isolating on the plate, but they never took the fucking time to fucking grow it out. So basically, they're sending you a fucking mushroom that does not fucking fruit. But I've never had a successful Jedi mindfuck grow in all this time, and I have tried minimum of a dozen times. Don't know what it is. There's nothing special about it. And I've tried it from a few different people. I got genetics from a few different people. And for some reason, it has eluded me. Everything else, I've never had one problem. I've been doing this so long that I can look at my tote or my bag, and I'd be like, you need more air. Or I'm going to go ahead and miss you, and like some of them, I do so much shit with my bags. I mean, I can just let them sit and grow, but I don't. I like to interact with them. It's not a fucking zoo. This is a fucking petting zoo, all right? So I'm sitting there. A lot of times I'll just cut all my bags along the top of the fucking substrate, the block, and I'll put those right in a motherfucking shotgun fruiting chamber. Or I'll put them inside of a fucking upside down tote where I can just miss the tote walls. And it's like, it keeps the humidity perfect. It's great.
See, you're nicer than me. I'm meaner. And maybe that's why my kids think I'm mean. But my mushrooms, you had to adapt to my environment. Like, I'm just going to clone whichever one of y'all figures it out. If you don't, goodbye.
Oh no, that is the best way to do it. Don't get me wrong, But when it gets to that point, and I don't get to interact with them anymore, then it's gonna start feeling more like work to me. And then once it feels like work, then I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. Then I'm gonna do something else. Then I end up in that position I was in like a year and a half ago when I got 43 strains going, and then I've got fucking 86 fucking bags after that. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And now I literally spent like a whole week fucking fruiting.
Well, see, that was the problem that I had at the end. I had 30 something totes, and I was doing so much other work. I didn't have time to babysit those things. Like, find your own air, man. I'm not gonna fan you,
right? No, yeah. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't even tell you how many times I've made totes, and then I would go on a binge or something. I go drinking, and I come back a week later, that with a fucking tote that's fucking sealed up. And hold on. What I was trying to say? Oh yeah, and then you come back with a full fucking canopy in that tote that you haven't touched. They don't need to get some attention. If they want to grow, if they want to grow, they're gonna fucking grow. Okay, that's what I do like about the totes. They got the surface area. If you get once you get the field capacity, not only just field capacity, once you get your growing style down pat, tell people you want to pick something, and you want to go, and you want to stick with that, and you want to get as close to perfection as possible, and then you add another tool. You add fucking shoe boxes. Then you add bags. But I think today, now, they have so much information, and people keep thinking ADHD it's just normal thing now. So it's going to be my excuse why I can't concentrate on one thing, and then I want to try everything. That's why everybody keeps coming back with the same fucking questions over and over and over, because they just keep going round and round and round. It's like, oh, I did. Or they'll come to me. They'll be like, Deadpool, what grain do you use? Right? Then I go to Whitebeard. What grain do you use? Then I go to Trim. What grain do you use? Right? But this is after they've already done what they talked to the last person about. So, like, I told them to do oats. Whitebeard told them to do corn. Then you got Trim. Tell them to do millet. I don't know what you use. But then they would ask you. But it's like, you guys, each one is different, kind of. Everything had its own idiosyncrasies. And you need to go ahead and you need to learn that one thing at a time. And then once you have a solid core, you'll be a great mycologist. Not just a pain in the ass that asking questions of the same type, just worded differently over and over and over and over. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that. It's like they would look at 7 different texts and then try to make their own out of these 7 that they saw. Which means you just had 7 broken texts. Like, you just broke all of them and put them together.
Right. You had 7. You saw 7 decent texts, and you wanted to go ahead and take the best part out of each text and conglomerate it into this fucking Frankenstein that did nothing. And you want to ask me what you did wrong. The fact that the point that you're even asking me what you did wrong is basically the best part, because it gives me a really good laugh for about 35 minutes. But I don't know. I mean, I yes, the same thing. Yeah. How about this? Wait. You're plating. This is why I'm gonna start asking this to everybody. How do you label your plating?
I would just write the name on mine. I was in the generation. That was it. So it would be 8/4/12. And then let's say it was an F2, and then the date that I put it on there.
All right.
Is there some special way? Is there some labeling police we need to?
No. Well, I would love. If I were to go ahead and say yes to any kind of police, it would be the labeling police in mycology. Every time somebody changed something to sell it, they get stabbed in the neck. Or every time they mislabeled their shit and sold it because they didn't have what they've ordered, they get stabbed in the neck. I just say mislabeling just fucks us up so badly in this fucking hobby. I mean,
Definitely. And well, so mislabeling, not only is there the act of mislabeling it through those means, it's just transposition. I've got two labels and I swap around this label for that label. Like I labeled everything correctly, but just put it on the wrong plate. Things like work on one label, like don't have multiple things going, one at a time. Finish that one, and now you can't mislabel it because there's only one thing to label, one label to put on. Boom, you're done.
Right.
It's in the. I think it's in the process sometimes.
Yes, no, dude. I do the same thing. I will have everything I'm going to work on in that session in front of one of the flow hoods, all the way over the edge, and then because my new thing that I do is whenever I have a jar, I take that jar, I inoculate 2 new jars, and then I put the rest of the jar into a fruiting bag. All right, so I'm always going up, you know. So but I only have that strain in front of me, so there is no fucking mislabeling fucking 8 with fucking rusty white or something. But
that's exactly the way that I used to do it.
Yeah, I mean, because 1 for 1 is great, but then when you do 1 for 1 and your jar goes bad for some reason, yeah, you're fucked. But if you go 1 to 2, then you double your chance of success for having something on the shelf. Plus, you have the whole one to go ahead and inoculate 10 jars with if you need to. So you always got room to bulk up.
Yeah, I ran 3. Unless I was running multiples, I would just have, if I was just running 1, I'd have 3 jars. That way, in case something happened to one of the jars, because I only needed 2 jars for my tote, so I'd still have enough to run the tote. And if all 3 made it, I would just do a tote in a bag.
Damn. That's perfect. What is your ratio? So you said your quarts or your totes were 29 quarts. Is that what you said?
32s.
32s. Okay. So you're doing 2. So you're doing 2 to 4, 2 to 5.
Well, all of my ratios, first of all, were weight ratios. I didn't use any cups or quarts or anything like that. My sub to water ratio was 5 to 1.
Okay.
And then I would put 1 regular size jar for every 3 pounds of sub.
Okay.
So 5 to 1 on water, 3 to 1 on sub and grains. But it was nice because I'd have all that stuff because I had a nutritious sub. All of mine was pre-pressure cooked and in bags, so it was just like grab this piece and throw that in. It was all piece rate basically. That it was all pre-weighed is what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to do.
That was my next question. Was if you do or do not PC your sub. So fuck that all up, Tueful. The fuck.
My bad.
I used to fucking sterilize my my bags. I used to all the time. I used to sterilize. I did that for probably about 4 or 5 years. Even I was doing a bucket tech, then filling the jars and just doing a round of the jars. So I would do like 2 quarts of grain, 4 quarts of spawn, or whatever I was doing because I liked it, or I wanted more fucking canopy, whatever the fuck I was FAFOing at the time. But now, when I did the 43 strains at once because I wanted to fucking run myself ragged. I said, you know what? Fuck this. And I went ahead and I just did the old bucket school. Just did the old bucket tech. Not one of those bags contaminated, but all I'm using is core and vermiculite or core and perlite, whichever one I have available at the time. And I have not sterilized my fucking substrate since. That's been like 3 years, and I had maybe 2 or 3 bags that have gone bad without giving me a full flush in a year and a half.
Nice. Yeah, I sterilized mainly because in the beginning, I wanted to make sure that was not a variable. Now, towards the end,
you had nutrients in there, so you didn't have a choice, anyways.
Yes, eventually. At first, I did not. I was just sterilizing just to make sure. Then once I found out you only needed to do it for nutritious grain, then nutritious sub, then I started doing that. But at first, I was just sterilizing everything just to make sure when something did go wrong, 'cause it's a learning process. I didn't get it all right all the time. I got a lot of it wrong in the beginning. But it just took out one less place that I had to troubleshoot. Well, it's definitely not because the sub was fucked up, because I sterilized that.
Right.
So identify the problem a little easier.
Oh, yeah. Get rid of those fucking vectors in your fucking set. Fuck them. I hate vectors of contamination.
Yes, indeed.
Do you use Peptone?
I do not use Peptone. I was planning on using it. I did order some, and then we shut it down. So
right.
I have some. You want to buy it?
I would if I didn't have these two already that have lasted me about a year and a half. I haven't even opened my second one yet. There's such a small amount they used to use. It's crazy. But it's like fucking steroid. You can definitely tell the difference. I'm a big person of fucking calling people on bullshit. Peptone is not a fucking fad. It is not drippy corn. Shit.
Yes, indeed.
What kind of grain do you use? Do you use corn, Tueful?
I was a corn guy. And that is strictly because I am lazy, and corn was on my grocery trip. I could grab that from Walmart while I was getting my groceries. And it was not a cheap grain. It was just clean and easy.
Right. No,
and I can say that the corn is very clean.
Yeah, if you're getting like Jiffy Pop stuff, I mean, yeah. I myself, I don't kink shame, man. I am not a kink shamer. I don't care what anybody uses. Just don't. I mean, I just like to make fun of people when they say this is the best shit ever when it's all the fucking same. You know, once you get your grain down, you are good. But don't.
That's kind of what I saw.
Good.
That's kind of what I saw when I looked around was the grain. Yeah, this one performs better, but how much better? Like, are we talking the difference between first place and seventh place at the Olympics? It's not that big.
Right. No, right. Yeah.
Like, you realize they're all in the Olympics right now, right? Like, does it really matter? I'm not getting seventh.
Yeah. I don't care if I'm in fucking last fucking place. I'm still in the fucking Olympics. I got a jacket. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I got my participation trophy. But what the fuck?
And I mean, unless you're really, really pushing a large amount of totes and bags, you're not saving that much time with a day or two shaved off. You're just making yourself have to do work quicker.
I mean, how many times have we had shit that we should have done that we put off for a day or two? Because we're not doing it. I mean, that attitude means absolutely nothing to us. I mean, if it does, you're on a serious schedule and you're in the wrong hobby. Because just because you plan on 10 days does not mean the mushrooms are going to do it in 10 days.
Correct. Yeah. Make sure that you are being productive as well, because it doesn't matter.
Right.
If you're not.
What's your favorite agar? What do you use for your plates?
I was using telephone agar. But again, it was easy to get. It was on Amazon. It got shipped to my door.
Okay. Let me rephrase that question. When you were making agar plates, what recipe were you using? Like, were you using LME? Were you using
LME?
All right. Nice.
Just basic. I didn't have any fancy agars. Now, I did start using charcoal a little bit just to kind of. I like the black. Sorry, the mycelium looks pretty on black agar. It
does. I can't argue with that. At least you're honest and not being like, listen, I'm making sure it was antibiotic. It's antibiotic bacterial plating, so I had to do it. No,
No, none of that. Vanity.
Vanity. Nice. Fuck. I don't know. But, I don't know. So you don't actually sell anything? You don't have a website? I'm trying to get you to see if you got anything you want to plug.
No. Currently, what I'm trying to do is figure out where do I fit in the therapy model going forward. And that's where my focus in the mushroom community has always been. I wanted to figure. Let me back up. So because I was in southern Louisiana, I could not find mushrooms for my own personal use. I would literally fly to North Carolina, go visit my girlfriend's kids, and while we were there, we would take a trip to DC, and then I'd get my mushrooms legally from DC.
Damn.
That road trip involved a plane, and I had to put it on the plane back. That was a vector of contamination right there. So then I was BSing with one of my friends, and he was like, they sell spores online. I was like, no, they don't. They're like, yeah, you could just buy the spores online and grow them. And then 2 weeks later, I had all the stuff in my house for my first little all-in-one grow kit. It worked fine, believe it or not. My first grow was successful. I started hitting a little trouble after that once I got all creative, but I just kind of took off on it at that point. But literally, if I could have found my own mushrooms in Louisiana reliably, I would have never grown them, because then I could have got the information I needed from them.
Right.
But no, I don't grow, not anymore. I can't wait to get back to it, though, as soon as we change states.
Yeah. My state sucks balls, too.
Oh. Or change laws. It could be laws, whichever one comes first.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a state. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a state.
Especially this one.
Yeah. Fuck.
Although we are one of the states that we're pretty close to recreational marijuana here. It's been decriminalized in New Orleans. It's available medicinally here, but like the bullshit type of medicinal. So you just need to say, I have anything, and they'll write it for you.
Yeah, but the problem, I don't know how your state is with the medicinal things. But I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the law like this, but I know in New York, if you have to get your card to get your weed, right? Now, once you get that card, you can no longer work in certain places. You can no longer have a commercial driver's license. You can no longer own a firearm. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, I would rather do it illegally than let anyone know that I do it and take away all my rights that are in the Constitution. Because
I'm not 100% sure about some of the job positions that may have some requirements on that here, but I don't think we really have any real negative kickbacks for medicinal use right now.
Right.
But again, I don't have very much experience in a job pool where you would have enough liability where that would be an issue.
Right. Well, no, yeah.
Obviously,
maybe not us, but just the fact that they can do that when they do make them legal. So I'm saying, they just because they make it legal, it'd be like the fucking COVID booster fucking little piece of paper that you have to sign up, and now they know everything or whatever. Not that that's even the same thing. I don't know why I said that, but
I just maybe those same lobbyists that we don't like, if they make it legal, there's enough capitalism on that where they're not going to want to limit their audience. Right. So they're going to be lobbying for the largest audience ever. Like, don't fire anyone. Philip Morris needs to sell more pot.
Right. Yeah.
So. But it should be good. A lot of the weirdness is coming. I think a lot of the weirdness is coming because it's technically not legal. Even though these states, this Just because the state said it was legal doesn't mean that the feds can't take you out anytime they want a little money grab.
Right.
So that leads to a bunch of, you can't really make a rule because it's still technically illegal. So you got all these weird ways that it's expressing itself.
Right. Yeah. I just hate talking about laws. There ain't nothing we can do about it. Not unless we have millions of dollars to give a senator to go ahead and wipe his ass with.
No, there isn't anything we can do about it on an individual level. But I do think there are a lot of individuals that make a difference, if that makes any sense. We've really got a lot of momentum that I would not have thought we would have had 5-10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would have never said that you could buy mushrooms anywhere. If you had asked me, you think you can go buy mushrooms somewhere legally? I'd have been like, fuck no, never. And now the fact that they're at least talking about it in mental health cases, the fact that Republicans now know what psychedelics are is a huge thing. That was like a liberal thing. Only the liberals knew what they were. The hippies, that's one of their things. But when you've got Republicans talking about it, we've really gained a lot of momentum.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's definitely people like Joe Rogan and everybody else that in the mainstream media bringing this shit up a lot. It's out there. Or else people wouldn't be talking about microdosing all the time. You know what I mean? So
I just wish we had more. I wish we had more information on microdosing so we can know what that actually is, and what the actual dosage of microdosing is, because there isn't a kind of like, with the mushrooms, you've got your heroic dose at 5 grams. That's kind of the idea. Once you go above 5, you're in that heroic realm. With microdosing, it's kind of like, we think maybe take this, but we don't know. We definitely know that if you get to a certain point, you get really close to macrodosing, and those are some fun days when people didn't expect to be full on tripping. But,
or when people take the pins because they're garbage, right?
Yes, but even more so than that is, let's just say that you've put the correct weight of mushroom in there. It depends on which mushroom was ground up and which mushroom within the same grove. Some mushrooms are just stronger than others. We can't really get dosing down well enough to even tell you how much was in that microdose. Was that a microdose of Golden Teacher, or was it a microdose of like Jack Frost? What are we talking here?
Right. That's why.
So that's going to make it very difficult.
I've been here talking, and I'm like looking away from the microphone like an asshole. But no, yeah, I mean, because they can't get the actual amount of psilocybin without having the. They have to have a whole batch of it put together, so they can do a test. But it all has to, because all our shit changes from tote to tote to tote to tote. Nothing is, there's no baseline. Each strain is different, and each grow of each strain is different, and each fruit on each grow of each strain is different. So they basically have to go ahead and in order for it to be like legal, I think, like, well, no, because they do it with pot, and that's the same way. But you would have to do a huge amount of testing, which is expensive. And then you'd have to be able to tell people exactly the percentage on each mushroom they buy at the what do you call it? What do you call those?
Dispensary?
Yeah, the dispensary. I couldn't think of the word for a second. I was like, and believe it or not, I do see psilocybin in dispensaries now. It's not even decriminalized, but I keep seeing it in the fucking head shops.
Yep.
So I mean, like, people know what it is, but I mean, I never show my face. People don't know who I am and stuff, but it's like I would never do that because all it takes is one fucking snowflake to get offended because they called them a fucking loser to make a fucking phone call. Now my life would be ruined. I mean, and you're in a state that's almost as bad as mine. You know, and your whole night they take your life away from you. You know, you might as well be good. You know, I'm growing microdoses for people, and you know they'll treat you like a goddamn a heroin dealer. You know.
Look, it got scary when I realized I couldn't find mushrooms around here. That means there's a reason. Not
right.
I'm sure it's not because there's no demand. I think it's because they actually give a shit about that one for some reason.
Which is odd. It's like there's only like one death that's ever been attributed. No, across overseas where the one person did shrooms and decided they were gonna go swimming like in wintertime. So it was the shrooms that killed them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, stupid is what stupid does. But
no, just because I do not sell them does not mean I have not tried to give them away to people. And that has even been a hard sell. Like some of my close friends, I'm like, I explain it to them, and their reply is nah. It's not very popular here.
It's weird though. You don't think it's popular, but there's going to be a group of like fucking 20, 30 people around you all of a sudden. You know where they are. You haven't met them yet. And then one day you'll meet them. And then like, wait a second, you have mushrooms? Dude, everyone I know does mushrooms. It's like, what the fuck? Where have you been for the last 20 years, motherfucker?
Maybe, buddy. Maybe they're hiding.
Well, they are. They're good at this shit. They should do it for a living. But I thought that whoever was selling my pot would have had those, but man, they're like, no, we don't even know where to get that from. I'm like, seriously? You want some crack? I'm like, no, I don't want any fucking crack. They're like, I don't have any mushrooms, I don't have any weed, but I've got crack, cocaine, and heroin. Which one of those do you want? And it's like, yeah. So basically, if I don't have to come back tomorrow because I feel like I'm gonna die, you don't want me to. You're not gonna sell me. Right.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. But all right, I don't know. I had fun. You see, Toe's not that bad.
Nah.
Farrell would have been on here talking medical shit for fucking 35 minutes, which is all right. I just find it stabs me in my brain when they start talking medical. Yeah.
Sometimes the medical stuff, it's too medical.
It is. I mean, if it's just like how we were just talking about it, this is good stuff for me. I don't check out and start playing video games while I'm doing a podcast. But no. Yeah, dude. So no, I appreciate you coming on, dude. I had a good time.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
Okay, so you don't have a website, you don't have an Instagram, you don't have a Facebook.
Let's just say to be announced. Once I figure out how I plan on doing this facilitation, then I'll be pushing it. But as of right now, I can't do anything where I'm at, so there's really no reason plugging it.
Gotcha. Well, it doesn't matter, because once you start doing that shit, you'll be back on anyways.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and all right, you guys have a great day.
Same here. Thank you, buddy.